Positive Spin. Presenting
Positive news.
Positive, innovative, and solution-oriented news from around the
I
world.
already miss them. I have made up my mind that even with the gun at my face, I will do this a million times.
On today's program, we'll profile Alfred Brownell, an environmentalist from Liberia and recipient of the Goldman Environmental Prize.
I am a refugee and I heal humanity. I am a refugee.
And we'll hear Ifrah Mansour's inspiring poem, I Am A Refugee.
Won't you just let me find my humanity?
I will say this about prejudice. We would learn a lot from nature. Nature is the supreme master of inclusiveness.
Then we'll see an interview with G. Mulleian, producer of the film Stonewall The Movement.
I have muscle contractions and I have really weak muscles. I can walk with assistance and
we'll follow a disabled Japanese girl's long journey to achieve her dreams.
Like a normal person.
Then, film critic Manny The Movie Guy will express his personal message of peace.
She's dancing ever faster than...
Finally, we'll hear a song from Native American singer-songwriter J.P. Falcon.
That brought her home again.
Alfred Brunel is a Liberian environmental activist and lawyer who stopped the clear-cutting of Liberia's tropical forests by palm oil plantation developers. His campaign protected over 500,000 acres of primary forest. He was recognized for his environmental activism with the 2019 Goldman Environmental Prize. Liberia has some of the richest forest lands in Western Africa, but also has a troubled economic and political history. When Ellen Sirleaf Johnson took office as Africa's first female president 13 years ago, one of her goals was to capitalize on the country's precious forests that had been safeguarded for centuries by the indigenous people in the remote Sino County region of Liberia.
For indigenous people, a forest is more than just the physical land or the physical trees. It's their way of life. It is their supermarket. Is their hospital. It is everything to them.
Alfred Brownell, an attorney and law professor, together with his Green Advocates organization, agreed to mitigate the conflict between the native people and Golden Beryllium, an international palm oil conglomerate. The company had forcefully established palm oil plantations by clearing indigenous people's lands without notice, consent, or compensation. In the process, the company had polluted local water sources, cleared community forests, and destroyed the tribe's sacred sites.
If you stood in the village, you just see the massive oil palm. I was shocked. Centuries of history and culture. The company replaced that with an oil palm operation. They were harassing them. They were intimidating them. They were arresting them. So the first thing I had to do was to give them hope, to stand up and fight for that forest.
Alfred and his team filed a complaint with the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil and documented the numerous ways in which Golden Beryllium was violating the standards that had been established for sustainable certification. But Alfred was soon faced with a confrontation for which his law studies could never have prepared him. A blockade in the middle of a palm oil plantation was the setting for a hostile band of Golden Beryllium employees with machetes, threatening Alfred with brutally ending his life. Then the village chief intervened with the attackers.
He said, this blood that you want to waste, you can put this blood on this land. So you have to take him to another town and kill him. I told the driver, let's go. And we fled the area.
Alfred's bravery and determination resulted in the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil issuing a stop work order on Golden Beryllium because of the numerous violations that Green Advocates had listed in their complaint filing. Chief among those violations was that Golden Beryllium had not received the consent of the indigenous people to turn their forests into palm oil plantations.
When I got the news that their rights were being restored now to protect this forest and protect the people who live in this forest for generations to come, I was overwhelmed and I cried.
After the decision in favor of the native people, Alfred's safety and security were jeopardized, even in his home in Monrovia. A warrant for his arrest was issued that quickly turned into a manhunt that he barely escaped with his wife and children.
It was the toughest decision that Alfred ever made. And I can tell you, even when Alfred succeeded, even in leaving the country, Alfred's goal was to instantly come back. So, Alfred left with a very heavy heart.
Alfred and his family are living in exile in the United States. He's a visiting environmental and human rights law professor at Northeastern University in Boston. He publicly speaks out at schools, churches, and community groups to focus attention on protecting Liberian forests from being exploited further by encroaching industries.
I had to pull my family off. I had to tear my children away. Whenever I talk to the indigenous people who I work with, I really miss them. I have made up my mind that even with the gun at my face, I will do this a million times. I am not afraid. I am prepared and I have no regret.
For outstanding environmental achievement for Africa, the 2019 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Alfred Brownell, Sinoe County, Liberia.
Ifrah Mansour is a multimedia artist and teacher. Much of her work centers around her experience as a Somali refugee. In the following segment, we present her inspiring poem, I Am a Refugee.
I am a refugee, a global citizen, aching for 2 continents, 2 countries, 2 histories, 2 nations, yet abandoned by all. I am a refugee and I shelter humanity. I walked and ran and screamed miles on end to find peace before I could pronounce my own name. I come with too many invisible treasures, often misunderstood, feared by all, banned by politics, never belonging and always longing. I am a refugee and I anchor humanity. A childhood full of humanity's lowest moments, I carry tiny soulless traumas. Time will only harden my flesh, and my survival is a testimony to humanity's depth and compassion. My traumas will teach the greatest lessons on humanity. I am a refugee and I uplift humanity. I am a refugee, a globally homeless, yet my language is an international bridge. My culture is a blanket from the elements of bigotry. My religion is a pillow for my compassion. My history is a lullaby for tales not to be repeated. And my humanity is in the hands of a child, sitting in a refugee camp, still waiting for a chance to find a safe home. I am a refugee and I challenge humanity. I am a refugee, a wandering, colorful, restless, foreign, alien soul that you are taught to fear, banned, and bully. Yet I bring you a slice of the world of my own home, right here in your backyard. I bring you food so intricately spiced it revolutionized your palate. I bring you my vibrant colors, hand-woven with ancient, delicate wisdom that has diversified your close-minded color wheels. I bring you my childs, my precious only childs, to share a history, a future with you. You and I are too stuck together to be this far apart. I am a refugee and I glue humanity. I am a refugee, a stubborn survivor. You see, cruelty tried to break me, Wars tried to erase me, bigotry tried to silence me, and politics tried to ban me. But still like time I stand, still like dust I rise, and still like hope I move, and still like love I flourish. I am a refugee and I heal humanity. I am a refugee, a wandering, colorful, restless, foreign, alien soul. Won't you just let me find my humanity right here next to you?
This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots, which launched the worldwide lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender movement. Positive Spin recently interviewed gay artist and activist Mulleian, producer of the award-winning documentary film Stonewall The Movement.
I will say this about prejudice. We would learn a lot from nature. Nature is the supreme master of inclusiveness. Evidence of this is before our eyes. The universe would not have existed if it were not for this very fact.
Mulleian is a renowned gay San Francisco artist, recognized for his trans-realism art. As an outspoken artist and activist in the early 1970s, he was targeted by the FBI. Mark was also a central person in the birth of the LGBTQ community in San Francisco. Being concerned that younger generations were losing their connection to the roots of the LGBTQ's history of struggle to secure their human rights, he produced the documentary film Stonewall The Movement. The film features interviews with people who were at the Stonewall riots and prominent LGBTQ leaders who were born out of the movement.
I remember the good old days of the gay underground back in the 60s and 70s, where bars were being raided and everything, and then eventually Stonewall in New York happened. I remember that led us in 1970 to initiate our own protest. It wasn't sanctioned by City Hall or anywhere, and so we ended up at Polk Street, and there were only 60 of us standing in the middle of the street of Polk, and nothing was really happening. We were just waiting for something, for word to come down to when the march would start. And so it eventually did, and as we started to march, the crowd grew. There were a lot of people along the sidewalks, and some threw boxes and sticks. Most of them were quiet and just sort of observing to figure out what was going on. But what struck me is that there were no paddy wagons, not even a single portable bar. And I found that quite curious. But then years later, I was able to assemble my thoughts on that again and put together the fact that this is what City Hall wanted, is the people to rise up, much like Congress. They can't do anything until the people rise up. In a smaller sense, this is what's happening into our gay community and politics. And so, as soon as we marched and we ended up to Civic Center, there was nothing there. It was just like a cliff, and we dispersed after the march. There were they say it was approximately about 6,000 of us, from 60 to 60,000 by the time we got to City Hall in the 1970s march. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and then City Hall immediately, they got what they wanted, and it was natural, and politicians started to move in and sanction protest march. After that, they quickly turned into eventually the gay parade, which was years and years later and all that. And it was after that point the gay movement started to flourish.
Homosexuality is ubiquitous. It knows no lines of race, culture, or ethnicity. Society's pressure against homosexuality has always relied heavily on the justification of popular morality, religious dogma, stereotyping, and unbridled prejudice in the persecution of homosexuals.
Don't you have enough? Don't you have enough? What the hell is that about? When do you ever have enough? When you're still being killed, when you're still being discriminated against, when you still have to convince people, when you still have to worry about your kids.
But these drag queens actually taught us a valuable lesson. Enough is enough. And they had had enough. And they were not going to put up with it anymore.
I've often felt like being gay was a little like being Jewish in that regard. We're everywhere. We're cast to the four corners of the earth. We are in all cultures. And it makes us a universal people in a way.
The whole gay world was, in a sense, in the closet because there was no media or nobody knew really who gay people were because we were effectively silent.
I used to, see stuff going on in the Tenderloin, and I saw gay people, what I thought were gay people, and they were usually the really Nelly kind of half drag queens that, no one wanted to know or be around or see. And they said, and I had, I still thought I was the only gay person in the world, but I didn't want to be like them. I knew that.
And I said, well, that's nice, but you look like a girl. I want to have a guy.
We were told that we were criminals. The church group said we were sinners. The psychiatrist said we were sick people. If you looked up homosexuality in the textbooks, in the psychology textbooks, it came under abnormal behavior.
And so I was really, really confused for many, many years.
At that time, it was illegal to dance with a same-sex partner. That was considered lewd and lascivious conduct. And the 8 of us who were dancing were arrested and charged with 621A, I believe it is, of the Penal Code, which required registration as a sex offender for life.
What the hell is that about? When do you ever have enough?
Behind me, I heard somebody, I've had enough of this shit, something to that effect. And the next thing I knew, a beer bottle flew, literally, as I half turned, flew over my head and hit the bar, smashed.
In 1924, Virginia Woolf said, in and around December 1910, human character changed. At Stonewall, gay character changed.
Bottles were raining fast and furious. And then somebody, I don't know what he threw, but he hit that mirror dead center and just smashed the shit out of it.
You're free, you're free. Rise, rise, rise.
Hiromi is a Japanese girl who was born with cerebral palsy, a disease that affects the brain and muscles. But from her earliest years, she has worked to overcome her disability and pursue her dreams.
I've always gotten this question, like what's wrong with your legs? Or when I'm going out with my family, I used to get these stares. People look at me because I'm in a chair. My name is Hiromi Morita. I'm 23 years old. I had cerebral palsy. Basically, affects my brain, and I have muscle contractions, and I have really weak muscles. I can walk with assistance and stuff like this, but I can't walk and run like a normal person. I'm a triplet, and I have 2 older brothers and mom and dad, so 5 people in my family. I was born in Japan, Tokyo, and then moved to Nagoya because of my dad's job. And then because my parents didn't really agree to the Japanese education system, so I was homeschooled for a while what I remember from the doctors saying and my parents saying was that I cut my bone and I twisted it to like outside because my legs. So when I was small, like my legs were turned like this, like if like toe like touched together. We cut the bone and then twisted it outside so that it would straighten out, and it took 7 hours. Through that experience, I think I got to kind of embrace the fact that I was in a wheelchair, and I kind of had to live with it, like live with just explaining, you know, to people whenever they ask me about my condition. My dream is to become a voice actress. My parents was very, very worried and didn't really support me in a sense, because you have to go through like schools just for voice acting, and then, you know, win the audition for it, and even if you get the job, like you have to constantly do auditions, and the recording studios like might be narrow, and we only have like stairs, you know. My parents always said, if you want to do this, like if you want to go to voice acting school, like you have to save up, and I actually did. And like that's when I started like calling a bunch of voice acting schools and telling them about my condition and my dreams, but a lot of them denied me just because I was in a wheelchair and just because I had this handicap. Bit of try, and I went to like auditions for the schools and I got denied, but I wanted to try it again, kind of thing like hit me like random situations. So I would be like so depressed and like so angry at myself. My mom usually told me, when you get sad, try to smile, like try to laugh it out. So I usually go up to the mirror and I just like start like smiling and talking it out with my friends and stuff. I'm very worried about my future right now because I'm graduating and I'm supposed to think about like internships and stuff. So I just want to focus on what I have to focus right now, and I'll be happy whatever comes later.
Manny De La Rosa is a renowned film critic, also known as Manny the Movie Guy. Originally from the Philippines, he came to the United States and reinvented himself to become a prominent film critic. Manny recently gave a personal message of peace to Positive Spin.
Hi guys, ako po, si Manny the Movie Guy, and all I want to say is, I know it's cliche, but give peace a chance. We need more love in this world. We need to shine love, give love, show love. It's all about love in this world. We're all gonna be loving each other. Promise me that, because I'm here to be mad at you if you don't. No, it's kapayapaan. Give peace a chance. Ako po, si Manny the Movie Guy.
Thank you for watching Positive Spin. This show is made possible through the generosity of the Patty and Jack Wright Foundation. Watch us on DirecTV, Dish TV, Sling TV, Roku, and Apple TV. Watch and subscribe to our previous episodes on YouTube, and please like us on Facebook. I'm Bill McCarthy. Now it's your turn. Inspire, empower, go out and make some positive news.
Closer to the ground and flying, find her way back home again. Swore she'd never roam again. She's what it was before her dirty little war. She couldn't fight it anymore. She found diamonds shining, broken bottles off the floor. I've been waiting, I've been wishing on much more. She's dancing ever faster than before. She bends and twists just like the wind that brought her home again. Louder than before, not a whisper. Oh, 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 but a roar. One giggle, and she'll knock you to the floor. She found diamonds shining, broken bottles on the floor. It's much brighter than before. And she's crying so much softer than before. The tears